Matt Brown, thank you for taking the
Thanks
time
for-
to come in today.
Thanks for having me,
A
Kate.
familiar face to many Rhode Islanders, former Rhode Island Secretary of State announced today looking at exploring a run for governor. Talk with us about your thought process about why you're looking at the state's highest office.
Well, my feeling is that we've got problems that are deep and long running. I think they've been around for decades. Economic problems, environmental, social problems. And I've got some bold new ideas about how to solve those problems. So I'm going to take those ideas out across the state, talk to everyone in the state that I can about these ideas, hear their ideas, hear what they're concerned about, and take it from there.
And your decision to run as an independent.
Well, it's really in keeping with what I've done for most of my life. I was a Democratic Secretary of State, but most of my working life has been actually running nonpartisan organizations, bringing people of different backgrounds, but also different parties together to solve big problems. So that started 25 years ago when I helped to start City Year in Rhode Island, and then I led City Year. And City Year is an organization that brings people of all backgrounds together, young people, to do a year of full-time community service, working in schools, working to solve problems in communities. And that was an organization where we built the backing of people of all parties across the spectrum. And then after I was Secretary of State, for the last 11 years, I started and have been running an organization called Global Zero, an international organization where we got leaders and experts from different countries, from all around the world, and also from different political backgrounds and parties to work together to reduce the threat of nuclear weapons, reduce the threat that nuclear weapons be used, reduce the number of nuclear weapons, and ultimately to seek their elimination. And for that, we had the backing of everyone from President Barack Obama to Ronald Reagan's Secretary of State, George Shultz. So this campaign, as an independent, is really in keeping with my background, bring people together to solve big problems. So this will be a nonpartisan campaign in that spirit.
So you released a letter to Rhode Islanders today about the big issues that you're looking at. And let's go through some of those that you outlined today. Let's start with renewable energies and what you see as the prospects and potential for Rhode Island.
Well, the potential is enormous. I mean, the world is moving to a new energy system. That's happening. It's underway. The question is who's going to get the economic benefits of switching from a fossil fuel energy system to a renewable energy system. And I want to make sure that Rhode Islanders get the benefits. So that means two things. It means going first. You don't get the economic benefits if you're last. And so I want Rhode Island to be the first state in the country that has a fully local renewable energy system. But beyond that, we have so much capacity here in our renewable resources because of the wind coming off the Atlantic. We actually have twice the capacity to provide the energy that we need. So in other words, we could provide all of our energy, but also have energy that we could export. So we could be an energy exporter. You know, some experts say Rhode Island could be the Saudi Arabia of wind power. So that's the idea. And then also I want to make sure that Rhode Islanders actually get some of the profits from that system, the way they do in Alaska. Where in Alaska they lease out their fossil fuel fields, and with that rent they give everybody in the state a rebate check. So what I want to do is build this energy system in a way that Rhode Islanders are shareholders, and they get some profits from what are our natural resources. Those, you know, no corporation should own the sun, the wind, and the water. These resources need to come, and these benefits need to come to benefit Rhode Islanders.
So do you think that profit sharing perspective answers perhaps folks' questions if they say renewables might be expensive?
Well, that's just, you know, that's something that I think the fossil fuel industry and the establishment puts out. It's just not true. I mean, the cost of building wind farms, for example, has fallen by half over the last 2 years. I mean, these prices are falling so quickly. They are now competitive, now, not in 10 years or 5 years, but right now are competitive with oil, gas, and coal plants. People have got to start to absorb that because there's been a story told that we're not ready with renewable technology. Look, whole European countries are almost fully renewable energy powered. Our little state certainly can do it. And right now, we are, instead of building a renewable energy system, we've got 90% of our energy is fossil fuels, all imported, none of it from here. So we are not only using polluting energy, we are spending $3.6 billion a year that we are sending to other states that are producing our energy to import instead of producing it right here, creating jobs and providing economic benefits to the people of Rhode Island.
So I'm sure folks are going to ask you about the Barville power plant debate.
It makes absolutely no sense to be doubling down on fossil fuels when that is the energy system of the past. And it just, again, it's just not true what has been promulgated by I think, the industry, by the establishment, by the status quo, that we need that. We don't. We can build the energy supply we need with renewable energies. In fact, we can build twice the amount of energy provision that we need for our state and export it with renewables.
Okay, so renewables was one of the items you had in the letter to folks here that you released today. Talk about the state bank idea.
So this is an idea that North Dakota spearheaded 100 years ago, and they did it in an era very much like ours. It was a robber baron era with enormous concentration of wealth, big banks soaking up all the money, and the farmers in North Dakota couldn't get credit. They couldn't get money for their farming. And so they started their own bank, and it's been a huge success. And we need to do the same thing here. The idea is that so our state government taxes us. They take about over $2 billion of taxpayer money every year, and they put it in Wall Street banks. Those banks use our money, our taxpayer money, to invest all over the world, China, Dubai, everywhere, building projects, making huge profits for themselves, and doing nothing for us with our own money. So the idea is to start a new bank, just like North Dakota did, bring the money back from Wall Street, put it in this bank, and the bank would have a charter and a mandate to invest in Rhode Island, in the Rhode Island economy, in important projects that Wall Street banks won't fund, affordable housing, clean energy, helping small business, and do it in the same way they do in North Dakota by partnering with the local banks and credit unions. So you actually grow the local banking and credit union industry in contrast to the dominance of Wall Street.
Would you say this would be taking, General Treasurer Seth Magaziner's Bank Local program and has invested $15 million in state deposits back in local business this year? Is that just taking this to the next level?
Well, I think it's really a completely different category. So we're talking, first of all, about over $2 billion, and we're talking about a bank with a mandate to grow the Rhode Island economy, to create jobs, but also to protect our money. Because, keep in mind, we had a lot of money in Wall Street when it crashed in 2008. And Rhode Islanders, by the way, after that crash, 12,800 Rhode Islanders were foreclosed on their homes. So an interesting fact here is that when Wall Street crashed, the North Dakota Bank had some of its most profitable years because people were looking for a safe place to put their money when Wall Street fell apart. I don't see Wall Street having changed a lot, learned their lessons. In fact, as we know, they're right now trying to loosen regulations. So this is a way to protect Rhode Islanders' money the next time that Wall Street crashes.
So let's talk a little bit about the current governor. You decided you want to look at the race. What's your thoughts about her performance to date?
Well, this is about really, in my view, the fact that the problems that we have, I think, we don't have solutions for in our political system. The problems are big, they're deep, they've been around for decades, and I'm not seeing solutions from our political system. So this is about putting forward some bold ideas, some new ideas, and sort of changing the thought process on what's a good idea. The question isn't, is our idea better than their idea? Is my idea better than his idea or her idea? The question is, do we have ideas that can solve the problems, to get at the roots of them and to solve them? And these ideas that I put out in this letter to Rhode Islanders, I think can solve some of these problems at their roots. And I want to go out and talk to people because, no one person has all the ideas. I want to hear other people's ideas from around the state as well.
We just were chatting about some of his big issues that he's looking at: renewable energy, potential for a Rhode Island bank, and where he stands on the Paw Sox.
Yes, so I was saying, I know that I'd love to have the Paw Sox here. First of all, I love them, love the Red Sox. I coach Little League, so we go often. I know the House and the legislature are looking at ways to possibly improve the deal. I think one way they could improve the deal is to say, look, if you want the state to be a financial partner, to be an investor, then the state should get some ownership of the team and the profits. I think that's one way to improve the deal.
That's one of the complaints that a lot of the opponents have. Again, we're waiting to see what comes out of the House pertaining to the Paw Sox. So we talked about renewables. We talked about a Rhode Island bank. What else would you like voters to know as you're going out, talking with folks, asking them what they're concerned with that will tip the scales to decide whether or not there's going to be a run?
Well, I think it's, I want to take these ideas out to people. They're bold ideas, they're new ideas, so we need to have a conversation. I think we need to, we're going to want to get out from behind our screens and our gadgets a little bit and talk in person. And I want to hear what people think about them. I also want to hear what ideas people have. I'm not the only person, obviously, who has ideas about what we need to do in the state. So I want to hear everyone's ideas. So this is going to be a campaign of, in the coming weeks, getting out to every part of the state, having a real conversation. It's not going to be me doing talking points and trying to persuade people to vote for me. It's going to be a real back and forth and a conversation, and then we'll go from there.
Well, I wanted to have you in today with the big announcement talking about some of the big ticket items. We'll have links to Matt's campaign. Do you have the URL handy?
Yes. Oh, good question. What's the URL? MattBrownForGovernor.com. MattBrownForGovernor.com.
Again, the exploratory committee announced today, wanted to get Matt here into the studio to talk a little bit to you, the viewer. I'm sure we'll probably have you back in the coming weeks.
Look forward to it.
Okay, Matt, thanks for
a lot,
coming in.
Kate.
I'll let you go around the
Appreciate
corner.
it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Matt Brown, former Rhode Island Secretary of State, announcing that he is potentially looking at running for governor here as an independent. He has a letter to Rhode Islanders on Matt Brown for Governor. Check out that URL talking about his ideas pertaining to renewable energy, also a Rhode Island bank, and we just chatted about his thoughts on the Paw Sox. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about with Matt in the coming weeks as he explores potentially a run for governor.